we are delighted to have one speaker to share his view and experience on the topic, digital experience evolution, making evidence-based decision in the construction ecosystem. So let me introduce the speaker. So hi, Mr. Azmi Azizo. So he's a construction data specialist in BCISM. So he began his career path with Sunway Construction in 2018, working through for BIM FM of the Pasir F Putrajaya project. So throughout 3 years of working with BCISM, he was responsible to model cost data, valuing more than 4 billion at the moment, and working on automated the company working system. So Mr. Azmi, so I will pass the floor to you.
Okay, thank you, Toby, for introduction. So, this is my first time debuting in the APPS 2022. I doesn't have experience in the previous apps, so I hope to learn a lot from it. So from the first day I follow up, today I doesn't have the opportunity to follow for the morning session. So can I share my screen for the, I think...
Yes, sure.
Sure. So I think I would like to have your participation. If you can see my screen or you can hear my voice, is it okay? I'm talking too slow or too loud? So, okay. If okay, then I'm good to go. So as stated in my topic is digital experience evolution, making evidence-based decision in the construction ecosystem. So I think I would say that from yesterday, I go to the Dr. Daniel explanation in the opening session. So he stated that we have gone through from the analog into digitization. Now we're going forward into digitalization and digital transformation. So, however, I think our type of digitalization and digital transformation is still at very low percentage. From what I heard yesterday, just around 5% in Malaysia. So what is meant by digitization? So digitization is a process to transform a physical format into a digital version, which means you can get from the camera, and then you can get from the scanning of documents, you create, or at least you create the Excel, you type one by one. So then what is meant by the digitalization? So digitalization is the application of digital technology to transform to improve something, to improve revenue, value added prospects. So this we still lack on. And finally is the digital transformation, which is the uppermost, is we need to change our culture, structures, processes, and governance changes, which means the way how we look into the big data, we need to be more democratized about it. So for that, I will go into the brief introduction, what is meant by the evidence-based decision making. So as stated in the introduction, so for the evidence-based decision making, it helps people or organization to know and understand. In turn, they can decide about policies, programs, and projects by applying the best available evidence from the research published. this approach is different from the opinion-based policy. In the case, it relies on the, I think I would say, limited studies instead of single studies. So before I go into the more in-depth, so I need to show what is the data in the construction. So the data in the construction that we in the BCISM we gone through. So we will have some sort like a pyramid. So this the pyramid. So from the pyramid, we can see from the basic cost components is the, I would say that is the level 1. So a bit more detail on all of the explanation on that. So first is the basic cost components. Cost components, measured works is the unit cost. Quantity factors and amplified analysis is the individual element, group element, and total cost. So this data level, as I stated in here, is as it goes into the upper part, it will create more meaningful data. The meaningful data, which means you can do as such for the benchmark for your project, and then you can benchmark also against other competitors from yours. But if the data we want to get is based on this, so it will be more difficult, as I will say more on the problems of the data in the construction ecosystem. So this is how I would say the breakdowns of the data, the cost data. So I will start from the basic cost components. So basic cost component, you will see it relates from this, I show only for the material. So for the material, I would say we have all of the material, and then all of the handling costs, and then the storage, and finally, and etc. So in the cost components is the basic build-up rates, which means before we get the schedule of rates, the final rates, we need to create build-up rates from this. For example, is the concrete. So for the concrete, we need to identify the supplier for the concrete, and then the cost of delivery, and then for the material, it includes all of that. And then for the labor, you will see cost of the day wage rate, and then levy and some sort of that. And then plant is either you can rent or you can purchase it. And then profit and overhead, it depends on the economic situation, is for the profit. And then the overhead is how you deal with the cost. So this is the granular cost, I would say, the cost component, the level 2. Next is the measure works, is the level 3. So the level 3, we have a broader groups. So the groups is for the concrete, enforcement, and formwork. This one just an example for the level 4 item is for the beam. So if for the finishes, you will have a different measured works. So then we go into the amplified analysis. So this one you will see in the BQ, in the summary of BQ, especially for the building works. So you will have the I would say the breakdown. So and then we go upper. on the level 6, you will see based on the main element for the substructure, superstructure, and all of it. And finally is a contract price. So from this, as I stated, it will have how it will cost by it. So then, so from this, I would say that the data for basic cost component, you can get anywhere. You can get from the Department of Statistics, and then from the CIDB website is the NTC, and then we have also from the supplier. So that one is an easy one. So the problem is we doesn't have this kind of the data, but instead we have only the final part where you can see in the news. You have in the edge when they announce they awarded the project, they announce the total project cost, and then they announce the cost per meter square and then the area. So I will go more in depth into the problem. So as stated, we have 6 problems that I think is a main problem in the construction ecosystem, where I would say is the data access, data standard, data quality, data size, organization, and the commercial part. So without further ado, so I will go into the data access first. So for the data access, we have 3 problems in here that I found from my experience working from my studies first and then the working. So I found that this is the problem in the Malaysian construction ecosystem. So first is the data is kept in the organization. So this data usually kept in the silo. So for the companies that have, I would say, that work for more experience, they have more data in their repository, but they doesn't share into the public, which means I would suggest that they share directly, but the way that they cannot share is they can keep the data and then at certain point they destroy it or they kept in their repository. So sometimes the data is just kept in their store. So this data may be either destroyed or lost. Then during my experience working in the construction sector, so this data cannot be accessed by anyone. It's just it have the level of authority. So when I working, so I found out that they have a certain level. So for the staff that are working on the certain project, they can access only to their project. And then if they are working in different department, they cannot access, meaning you were working as a engineering department, and then you want to access the QS department data. Sometimes they have a limitation on that. So this data authority, they have to cater for the I would say they have their centralized data center. So this data center is usually an additional task for the company, and then it will cost a lot of money. So next is from the experience of students, and then working now is working. So I would say that still doesn't achieve the culture of sharing knowledge. It means that for students, they doesn't have the opportunity to know much about the certain cost data. Maybe they can get their data from their internship company, so they are limited of data experience. So when this happen, they doesn't feel confident into that. And the worst case that uh, the company limits them from sharing to their friends and some sort. Maybe sometimes they are just mishandle it. They just left in the class, and then they forget about the data that they need to protect about it. So that is the problem in about the data access. So this is just an example. So I just so you cannot access into anyone website. Okay. So next is the data standard. So in the construction industry, I would say when I work in the BCISM, I found a lot of different format of BQ. So different format of BQ as compared to the infrastructure, where they use, they agree on working on the MICE CSMM2. So they have some sort like a standard. So this standardized BQ will be easier to analyze, and then it will be easier to go to use it in future. So because of the different standard that available in the building sector, so it will have a inconsistent format of pricing the BQ. So for I think for the students and for the academician, they may maybe have a different understanding on the pricing of it. Because I would say that in the BQ, we found out we found the lump sum type of BQ, and then the contractor also sometimes they produce their own BQ because they got they are awarded for the lump sum project, and then sometimes it's the normal BQ. So with the normal BQ, we have a different standard method measurement. So in the standard method measurement, different SMM will have a different way to measure, a way to price. So for us also in the BCISM, so we have very to make an eye of detail, to make analysis from it. Especially, for example, is the excavation works. So from my SMM, for the SMM2 that I learned and then I experienced is you have to break down for the excavation works, for the removing works, and then you have to price for the filling work. Meanwhile, in the SMM, you have all of it into one pricing, which means it is difficult to make analysis of it. And then format of analyze data. So we have a different format in the industry, either the public work departments or RSM. So the public works department usually in the format of some sort building per cost meter square. And then the RSM format is the ECA. So ECA, one ECA we create is for the one building analysis. So this also the RSM format is we need to create abundance of the analysis for one project to have a complete set of analysis. So this is the example of the ECA. So I think all of you have experienced it. So you can find it in the RSM magazine. So this is an example that UK company PCIS, they are producing a different way of analysis using a benchmark, which means you have for one building, for example, is a terrace house. You have around 100 data of terrace house in for one whole country. So it will have a different period and some sort. So it will have the mean price, and it will against the benchmark against other projects. Next, it will have the cost per meter square, and then the comparison against other projects. So we also produce a benchmark analysis report. So at the moment, we still in midst of collecting all of the data. We still collecting all of types of data from residential and then to the commercial, office, hospitals, and some other data, especially for the building works. Because I think for the BCISM, we still lag behind against the BCIS UK. So for the data quality, I would say for the data accurate and consistent, it should be together. So once we have a lot of data, you will see the outlier, and then you can create a median line, the mean line. That means you can get a more accurate. So instead of you have the range price, so you will have the indicative price. It will be easier you to make analysis. And then the data completeness, we receive the data from the industry. We have the data. Sometimes it may have missing pages, missing document, or we can get the fully blank documents. So for one locality to get a data completion, it should be a long process. And then finally is the data should be valid. So the validity, I would say the validity is we take only for the project that are awarded, because sometimes from the ECA previously, we receive from the association, RSM. So sometimes they giving their, which means the consultants cost plan. So that one is different from the awarded sometimes. So I would say the next is the data size. So data size, I would say the data size should cater every requirements. So the requirements, for example, I would say that the data should be able to cater for at least one state in Malaysia. And then it should also include the cost for the MNE, and then the analyzed data that we get, sometimes just a level 7 data instead of level 5 and 6. Level 5 and 6, I would say that the cost for the element, meaning the work below and then some sort, and then the group element, substructure, and then the superstructure. the data compatibility, which means when we using the big data software, sometimes the data that we receive is in the format of PDF. We need to clean it. We need to create a new into the Excel format. And finally, when we have a lot of hard copy that we scan, and then this data will take a lot of space, which means we need to standardize the size and then the storage. So because as a point of view of the data provider, I think we need to have a seamless user experience when customer using our website. So allow me to explain. For this, BCISM is not a company. It is actually a committee, subcommittee of the QS division in the RSM. So BCIC, I would say that Building Cost Information Center. So this subcommittee is managed by the committee. So this managed by committee, usually we receive the data from the RSM. So we usually use university, I would say, freelancer before this. So then our management decide to work on into the way forward is create a company. So which means we need to have also the independent data source. So I would say that there is no independent data source that have such large information. So it will usually big companies, they have their data source, so they have kept into their companies. So it is different from the company in the outside of Malaysia, like the BCIS or LASA Limited, which company that will have the collaboration to get new to get the data. So this data collaboration also is a huge task. So we need to have a mutual understanding and long-term goals that we set out for the same mutual goals. And then
sorry, Mr. Azmi. Yeah, because we need to end this session in 1 minute for the next session to come in. So maybe you can use a short summary to wrap up the session.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry.
Okay. Thank you. So for me, for the short, I will go into. So as a summary, that I believe that we need to adopt best practices from different sectors or different countries. So because I believe that construction ecosystem we can change by starting a stepping stone. So I would say we need to change the culture of data silos to data collaboration. So in future we get a better, I would say, a big data that can be used for the industry to move forward. Okay. Thank you.
All right, so thank you, Mr. Azmi, for the nice presentation. And since there's no Q&A from the floor, so yeah, thank you for the sharing today, Mr. Azmi. And yeah, we will see you again soon. All right.